A broken window, a stolen purse, then scammers stole every penny out of a Raleigh woman's bank account. And the bank wasn't too helpful, at least not until she called Keely, as we say here at WRAL. Welcome to the Daily Download. I'm Travis Fain. Today's conversation is with Keely Arthur, part of our 5 On Your Side team here. And among other things, they get people's money back. Keely, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Tell us about this latest story you've done, and then we're going to talk more generally about how 5 On Your Side works. But so a woman leaves her car, parked at Umstead at the state park,
right,
locked up, windows rolled up, comes back, and what had happened?
She comes back and her window, she thinks, there was an electrical issue. Her window's rolled down. She gets closer, realizes her window's been bashed in, and the purse that was hiding underneath one of her seats stolen. Within a few minutes, she gets an alert saying that there had been some charges to her credit card. So she does what you're supposed to do in that situation, alerts the credit card, alerts the bank companies, and make sure everything is canceled and, reactivated under different numbers.
And so she did everything right, basically.
She did. And then in addition to stealing her credit card, she also had her ID stolen, her driver's license. This was in October. She did everything we tell everyone to do, but these scammers are very sophisticated. And on March 3rd of this month, she got an alert on her phone saying, "We believe someone's been trying to impersonate you at a branch of Wells Fargo in Richmond, Virginia." So she banks at Wells Fargo in Raleigh.
And how much money did they end up cleaning out of her account, which she thought was canceled? She thought that this was all handled.
She thought it was all handled. The one thing she did not do was get a fresh bank account, but she alerted Wells Fargo that her debit card had been stolen. So they reissued a new bank card for her, but the account itself was still always the same. So we believe now, they used her driver's license that was stolen out of the purse to walk into that bank. So that's kind of the conventional crime, stealing something physical. And then these hackers, scammers, whatever you want to call them, have software, it's pretty easy to find, where you can run password guesses at 1,000 per second. So they were able to hack into her bank account, get the right bank account information, have just enough information to get to a bank. And they first stole $3,800. That's when she got the alert. Wells Fargo said, okay, we're going to put a hard freeze on this account. This was Friday. By Monday, another transaction had happened. Her bank account was then at zero.
Wow. And so from there, obviously, things didn't just fix themselves because you got involved. I have this general understanding, though, that if someone takes my credit card or steal my identity, that it's going to be a major headache, but that I'm protected, that I'm not liable for these charges. But I have not read the fine print on that. So how protected are we really?
I think with credit cards, you're more protected there. I feel like those companies have a reputation of trying to fix things on that end. But what we're finding with bank accounts is sometimes when that money is gone, it's just gone. And the bank accounts or the bank companies don't really want to jump into action too quickly to help. In fact, the woman, when she was calling explaining this situation, was met with a lot of resistance from Wells Fargo's customer service. She says she felt like she was being questioned as the scammer. So the one thing I want everyone to know is there's a federal law under Regulation E that tells consumers, tells the banks, that when money is taken out of your account by a third party, so someone stealing your information or someone coming to rob a bank, the bank, it's their responsibility to make that whole. Even if you accidentally provided a scammer with some sort of information. I mean, this woman didn't do anything wrong. It was a total violation. But I want anyone, no matter how you're being scammed, that money is really the bank's responsibility. But banks, this happens so frequently now, I think banks really try to push back on that.
Yeah, and so even the branch manager here in Raleigh got on the line with the call, Wells Fargo corporate, and couldn't really move this forward as quickly as it seemed like it ought to, right?
No, he ended up getting pushed back to customer service, like the number that you and I would call as a consumer. So all these things that were built in to kind of make people feel like, oh, I'm going to call this fraud line, this is going to help. It really doesn't. And when, at least in the case of Wells Fargo, what Danielle Hahn, the woman we're talking about, ran into was she would call and they can't call you back. So she'll call, she'll explain the situation. Nobody can call you back. And then she will call somebody else and then have to re-explain the whole thing. So she felt like she was taking crazy pills going on and on, having to explain this.
And then I believe her husband called us. You called Wells Fargo's public relations team. And then how long did it take from that call?
It was really fast. So on Thursday night, once we got involved, I just texted the communications team at Wells Fargo, which I have a relationship with because unfortunately these scams happen a lot with a lot of major banks. I texted him, said, hey, this is kind of the situation. Can you call me Friday morning? He did. We talked about it. And within 3 hours, Danielle called me back, said, I don't know what happened. You got involved. And now I'm being told the $6,390 that was taken out of my account will go back into my account. No real explanation other than it's being fixed.
Yeah, which is not that unusual when the media gets involved. Happy ending, though. We're going to take a break, but on our way out, I want to read the statement you got from Wells Fargo. Quote, "We know identity theft is a stressful experience for victims, and we are pleased to resolve this issue for our customer. One instance of a fraudster using a stolen identity is one too many, so we are continually making improvements to our fraud prevention practices and procedures. We want to do everything we can to combat fraud, protect consumers, and support fraud victims." End quote. When we come back, some tips on how you can protect yourself from fraud, and more on how 5 on Your Side works and how much money calling Keely has recovered for people. Stick with us. All right, welcome back. We're talking with Keely Arthur. When we say call Keely, this is, actually, I guess those calls technically go to a team. You've got other people you work with, and y'all sort through all this stuff, and you vet these things, and maybe it does a story, maybe it doesn't. How much money have y'all recovered over the last while?
So we kind of took over last January. I think we got our first, $100 back March of 2022. And I was so excited to finally get some money back. But in that time, so about a year since, we've gotten people back $315,000, which is amazing. And that really is a couple $100 there, a couple $1,000 there. There's been some big wins, but really those little dollar amounts add up.
And how often is it someone has been out and out scammed versus the wheels of our system have just kind of ground them up a little bit, and no one can really take responsibility, and it just policies get changed because companies don't want bad press? Yeah,
that's really the majority of the fixes. When a person's been out and out scammed, sometimes rarely do we get a hold of these scammers. Sometimes they're not even in the U.S. and certainly not in North Carolina. So it's hard to track those people down. But a lot of times it's a bill that's been messed up or the wires have been crossed and the person's been calling customer service, and only when 5 on Your Side gets involved and contacts the communications team do the right eyes get on it and the fix actually happens. More often than not, it's us getting involved with businesses who have done something wrong, not maybe negligently, but they're in the wrong. They look at it and they go, oh, we better fix this before it's on TV.
Yeah, and how many calls or emails, whatnot, maybe in a week, or is it just a constant stream?
It's a constant stream. We get hundreds, maybe thousands a week. And when we say 5 on Your Side team, it's really my producer Pritchard Strong and I. And on top of responding and solving all these things, we're airing at least one story every single day. So we also have to, I feel like responding and resolving these issues could be its own separate career. On top of that, we're producing news content that not only helps the victim, but also helps the public in here's the lessons you can learn so this doesn't happen to you type of thing.
Yeah, and it's not exactly easy to vet. I mean, because you start off with one person's side of the story, and maybe they've included the information you need, maybe they haven't. It is a real process because you do real journalism here. You don't just, oh, well, they said it, so it must be true.
Yeah, and people, I mean, if we're going after a company and we're saying, victim so-and-so says this company did X, Y, and Z, we really have to have documents, tons of verification to back that up, because if we don't, I mean, we can't air that. And so it's really important for everything to be verified ahead of time. And what I want anyone listening who would ever reach out to us to know is you have to do the work. I always say, help me help you. Make all the phone calls. Be an advocate for yourself. The television station can't magically get involved and solve things, but what we can do is if you've done all the legwork, we can look at a situation and go, you know what? This company really did mess up here, and make that phone call and get involved. It's not always a simple fix, but if people do more work ahead of time, it helps us fix it.
Yeah, and hang on to your records. If you can get things in writing from a company, do that. If you're in North Carolina, we're what's called a one-party state for recording phone calls. You can record a phone call as long as at least one party, you in this case, knows that the call is being recorded. You can keep a little time, date. I spoke to customer representative Patty at 3 p.m. All these things bolster your case and make it easier for a journalist to follow up afterwards. Beyond that, how do you guard against? I mean, obviously, the woman we were talking about earlier, someone broke into her car. There's not a heck of a lot. If the purse is hidden and the door is locked, there's not a lot more you can do there. But how can you protect yourself against kind of the most common problems that are coming into your tip line?
Yeah, there have been times where I wish I could call Keely, where it's like I'm so frustrated with customer service, but I can't do that because that would be not appropriate. But I want people to know you have to be, just like every night you check your locks, you make sure everything is good in the physical world. Everyone lets their guard down when they're on their phone, but that phone is a gateway to scammers. It allows so much access. So I want you to be as on guard as you would be if you were in a big city with lots of money in your wallet. Be on guard when you're on your phone. And it's annoying to have all these different passwords for different things, but do that. Make sure you have different passwords for everything. Make sure if you can do two-factor authentication, which means a password and then another thing that would allow you to get in, do that, because these scammers are really sophisticated. It is their full-time job to take your money. It is not your full-time job to protect yourself, but you really have to kind of be of that mindset. Be a little paranoid. Be really careful.
All right. Well, we're going to leave it there. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the WRAL Daily Download today. If you like what you're hearing, please rate us on Apple Podcast or whatever podcast app you use. Maybe give us 5 stars. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. That's a daily email that's waiting in your inbox every morning with Triangle news, events, and headlines to get you ready for your day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter. And if you need to, call Keely, right?
Yes, call me.
Thank you, Keely. Have a nice day.
Leave a comment and share this video with your friends. With daily uploads, there will always be a conversation.